Hey everybody, welcome back to Rachel Reads. My name is Rachel. I love to read and write Christian fiction, and today I am filming the Christian Fictionist Starter Pack. And I know Oshina did a video like this a while back, and I've been wanting to do my version of like a Christian Fiction starter kit for a while. And basically what this is if you are trying to get into Christian fiction, these are books I would recommend. Now, I have a lot of books on my shelf, and majority are Christian, and I would recommend them. But like, if you're starting and you don't know where to start, these would be like some of my ones I would give to my friends and be like, you should start here. So I'm gonna recommend them to you. I'm gonna recommend a few books I don't own. And so for historical, the ones I don't own is the Hoggenheim series by Melanie Dickerson. These are fairy tale retellings, and they are YA. But they are historical. They are set in England, and they're really fun. I think they're really good for YA and for adult readers. The next one is A Name Unknown by Rosanna M. White. And this whole trilogy, when I found this last year, I really loved this first book. It was definitely different than what I have been reading in historical, but I really loved it. And even though it's a thick book, I think it was really great, and it had great faith content. The next one I don't own is Jen Toronto. She writes absolutely hilarious Christian fiction. All of her books are really funny. They always have like a good message and some faith content in there, and they're super funny, super sweet. I highly recommend. The historical books I do own. First author I would recommend is Joanna Davidson Politano. These are some of my favorites that I own, which I own 4 of her books. I want to own her whole backlist, but I'm working on it. And these are the favorites that I own, and probably my favorites in general. But that is A Rumored Fortune. This is kind of like a mystery scavenger hunt style, historical, great faith content, super sweet. And then there's A Midnight Dance, which is definitely my #1 favorite by her. This is like ballet. There's this mystery around this girl's mother. Super good, definitely my favorite. And then The Lost Melody, which is book 2 after A Midnight Dance, which I would read after Midnight Dance, but this one's so good. This one deals more with music and different pianists and artists and all that, and I think it's so good. This one does take place in an asylum, but in my opinion, I still loved it. And then for the other 2 historical, I would recommend When Twilight Breaks by Sarah Sunnan. This is also part of a trilogy. Book 2 is Until These Fall in Paris, and book 3 is The Sound of Light. Book 1 was definitely my favorite. This is World War II. Sarah Sunnan really writes great World War II books, of the ones I've read anyways. This one had pretty good faith content that I remember, and I really enjoyed it. The other one, this one is biblical fiction, and this author I would recommend for biblical fiction, but that is The Hidden Prince by Tessa Afshar. My favorite is probably Bread of Angels, which is about Lydia. This takes place during the time of Daniel. All of her books are really good biblical fiction. I really love all of them. There hasn't been one that I read that I did not give 5 stars, so obviously I really love them. And yeah, this is just a really sweet story, beautiful book. And yeah, if you like biblical fiction or want to try it, I would recommend Tessa Afshar. The next category is YA, and for the books I don't own, I would recommend Erin Mangum's Sketchy Behavior. This is her only YA book, but this is a mystery. It's super sweet. Obviously, it has great faith content because Erin Mangum, and I really loved it. It's definitely funny, and it's just a great book. Also, Rachel Coker. She writes more historical YA books, but in my opinion, they're really good. I've read both, the 2 that she's written. I couldn't pick a favorite because it has been a while, but if you're trying to get into YA, I think I would definitely recommend them. It's kind of like a TV dating thing. This book's about Addie, and she gets a chance to date the president's son, but it's all on national TV. It's really fun. It has really good faith content. This is a retelling of Esther, and all the books in this trilogy are retellings of something in the Bible. So yeah, they're really good. If you like YA, I would definitely pick this up. Next genre is romantic suspense, and for the ones I don't own, No One to Trust and that whole trilogy by Lynette Easton. That is definitely some of my favorite Lynette Easton. I have not read all of her books to recommend which one I would start with, but this one I think I definitely would, just because it was one of my favorites. Then the next one is the Alaskan Courage series by Danny Petrie. It's a 5-book series with a novella at the beginning. This takes place in Alaska, obviously, and the first book is called Submerged. This is about Bailey and Cole. Bailey has struggled a lot in her past, but then she's overcome it. But she has to move back to Alaska, where a lot of things went wrong in her life, and you just follow that mystery, and it's really good, great faith content. The Griffin Heist by James R. Hannibal. This is about Talia, who is assigned other in the CIA, and she expects it to be a quick 2-day thing in Moldova, but it ends up being something so much greater. And the faith content in this book really surprised me, just because there was so much talk about faith, especially in the later parts of the book, and it definitely gives like Mission Impossible vibes if you like that style. For the ones I do own, I really recommend this. I definitely recommend binge reading them just because they are so good binge read. But that is the If I Run trilogy by Terry Blackstock. This series makes up a whole like picture, which in my opinion is really cool. Authors, please do this to your books. It's really fun. But this series is about Casey. She's on the run for a murder she did not commit, and you're just following her story, and there's a lot of great faith content, especially with Casey as she learns about the faith. The next genre is romance. Janice Thompson. For Janice Thompson, I would recommend starting with Weddings by Bella. That's the one I started with. I think I started with that one, and I really loved it. I love this series. It was so funny and so good. I haven't read the last book, but yeah, they have great faith content. They're so fun. For the ones I do own, Mind the Gap by Erin Mangum. For her trilogies, they're really good, but I personally would recommend starting with Mind the Gap just because it's a standalone. It's super fun. They go to London. It's kind of like Pride and Prejudice. There's this tour guide. It's just so good. Really good faith content. This one's so good. But I would recommend maybe starting with this one and then going through her series chronologically in order of how they came out. So yeah. The other one I would recommend, which I got the recommendation from Lindsay, but that is The Story People by Heather Kaufman. This was definitely one of my favorite romance books of last year. This is all about Ben Palermo, and he inherits his uncle's bookstore, but is considering selling it. But then there's Rosemary, who is an author and illustrator, and she comes back to town to help her grandmother, I think it was, except Ben and Rosemary kind of have a spark, but then she has to leave. It's just so good. Really good faith content. Definitely one of my favorite books. Fantasy dystopian. And for the ones I don't own, The Blades of Akhtar by Tricia Mingrink. While this series is a bit heavier on violence, it has a super strong faith content, and it has really, really good talks about Daniel and David and different stories in the Bible. It is so good. I'm almost done with the last book, and I really love it, so I would recommend it. Next one I would recommend is The Chronicles of Alira by Victoria Lynn. I recently read this and really enjoyed them. I think I gave them both 4.75 stars. I will talk about them in a recent reads whenever I get around to filming that. But it's super good. Really good faith content. Other two dystopian I would recommend on my shelf is Anomaly by Kristen McGee. This one's really fun. It talks about God more as like a creator and seeing him in that. It also has like music in it, and this one gives me Divergent vibes, whereas A Time to Die by Nadine Brandes, this is about Parvin, and essentially everyone is given a day to die, and their clock counts down to it, but Parvin goes through a lot, and this one's just really good. It kind of feels like Hunger Games, but better. Unpopular opinion, but yeah, it definitely has like Hunger Games vibes, and it's super good, and I really enjoyed it. There's not much to say, but pick it up, and if you can't get into it, wait until like about 100 pages. It really picks up, and please stick around to then because it's so good. For fantasy, and obviously there are so many more I can recommend, but the first one is Mark of the Raven by Morgan L. Busty. This is more I want to say spiritual warfare, but like light versus dark. And this is about Celine, who inherits dreamwalking, but I really enjoyed it. It definitely has some more allegorical faith content, but I think it's still good. The next one I would recommend is definitely, I think it's one of the first fantasy books I read, but that is Fox by Nadine Brandes. I love Nadine Brandes so much. Here's the book cover for her new book, which is coming out in July. Please go check it out. I think this cover is so amazing, and I love the premise. This is based off Guy Fawkes and then his supposed son, and it's really good. This is more, again, a light versus dark, allegorical, super good. Really would recommend. Last book, but there are so many more I could talk about, but that is The Wonderland Trials by Sarah Ella. This is my favorite duology of last year. Probably my favorite series, maybe. It was still really good though. I would highly recommend. This definitely is more of an allegory, and I think it definitely picks it up in book 2, but you definitely could spot it in book 1. This is an Alice in Wonderland reimagining. It's fantasy dystopian, and yeah, it's really good. I love this series. I really want to talk about what I'm reading in book form and in my Kindle and then in my Bible. So as a book, I'm reading Entwine. I'm about 150 pages.
Why did I stop in the middle of a chapter?
I'm currently reading Entwine, but I'm going to take a short break from reading it. Not because I'm not enjoying it. I'm loving it. But I'm going to pick something else up. I'll be gone for a little bit, so I'm just going to pick something else up while I'm there. It'll probably be a reread, but this is so good. I love it. Highly recommend. Kindle, I'm almost done with The Blades of Akhtar by Trisha Meagrig. It's so good. I maybe might do a whole series wrap up. I'm debating it. And then I also am fixing to start a series I'm super excited about. And then there's the Once Upon a February readathon hosted by Tales of Trees with Tay. And I do have a few books I'm planning on reading for that. So yeah. And in my Bible, I'm still in kind of like that Kings and Chronicles, just passing over from Kings like Asa, Jehoshaphat, Jehoram, I cannot say it, but yeah, it's talking about the different kings and how some of them followed God and some of them didn't. So that is all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope God bless you today. Remember, I do my best to post on Tuesday at 12:30, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye.